Hello and welcome to Your Government in Action, a presentation of Bahamas Information Services. I'm Carissa Williamson. Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, the Honorable Philip Davis, addressed the nation on March 17, 2026, outlining the government's response to the rising global energy prices linked to the instability in the Middle East and the possible impact on the cost of living in the Bahamas.
We have been closely monitoring developments, engaging with our energy partners, and planning for various scenarios. I'm grateful to be able to say that policy changes we began to make early in our term have built more resilience into our system. In particular, the major energy reforms we have put in place, which include major efficiencies and improvements, and risk mitigation strategies, have left us in a better shape. That work is still ongoing, but it means we are able to say that your electricity bills, which are lower already from the changes, will not be impacted by the current crisis. This afternoon, I'll meet with the Retailers Association. That meeting is focused on one thing: how we work together ahead of the April 1st VAT reduction on food to bring costs down for Bahamian families. I want to hear their concerns directly, hear what they are seeing in the market, and hear what practical steps can help ensure that relief reaches the people who need it. Because that is the focus. Bringing costs down for Bahamian families is the focus. Giving people relief at the grocery store is the focus. And nothing will get in the way of that. My government will stay close to this issue. We will work with retailers, we will listen carefully, and we will keep pushing for results that people can feel in their everyday lives. The second matter is security. Periods of instability can create pressure for far beyond the original conflict zone. That includes illegal migration, maritime smuggling, and other unlawful activity across this region. So we are watching that situation very carefully in Haiti and Cuba. The Royal Bahamas Defense Force remains on alert from Great Bahama Bank to Key Sal Bank and to Anguilla Key. We are actively monitoring our maritime space. Our assets remain in the southern Bahamas, and we are working closely with the United States Coast Guard and other partners. That presence is active, and it is producing results. Over the past few days, RBDF personnel intercepted 57 migrants in the Little Inagua area. 29 were apprehended on Monday, and a further 28 were apprehended on Tuesday morning. They were transported safely to Great Inagua, and investigations are continuing. That operation is a reminder that border security is daily work. It requires investment, coordination, readiness, and strong partnerships. That is why we came to office. When we came to office, we invested in strengthening the capacity of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force. We understood that in an uncertain world, a country like ours must have the ability to monitor, respond, and protect its territorial integrity. I've also directed the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Fred Mitchell, to remain engaged with his regional colleagues. I'm in contact with partners as well, because this is a moment for close communication, close monitoring, and steady cooperation. Over the past few years, we have worked hard to restore the Bahamas' standing in the world. We have made serious decisions on energy. We have made serious investments in national security, and we have used diplomacy with purpose, because for a country like ours, diplomatic leadership matters. When uncertainty rises, a country must have strong relationships, a credible voice, and the standing to engage seriously with regional and international partners. We have done the work to strengthen that standing. We have done the work to ensure that the Bahamas is heard, respected, and well-positioned in moments like this. These are serious times, but this is also a time for calm heads, steady hands, and a responsible, united team in government. Your government is watching these developments closely, and your government is responding. All options are on the table to protect livelihood of Bahamians. We will keep working to protect families from the worst effects of global instability. We will keep working to secure our borders and our waters. We will keep working with partners at home and abroad. And we will keep making decisions with the country's long-term interest in mind. That is the work before us. That is the work we are doing.
Minister of National Security, the Honorable Wayne Monroe, participated in a donation ceremony of 12 computers to the Geography Lab at C.I. Gibson Senior High School, aimed at enhancing students' access to technology and digital learning resources. The donation took place at C.I. Gibson Senior High School on March 24th, 2026.
I attended the Geography Assembly. Also there was my colleague, Minister Keith Bell, who is an alumni of this school. He is a very proud Rattler, and he lets us all know at all times that he attended the great C.I. Gibson. But at that time, Ms. Haley had approached through Coach Kevin Johnson, who I have an ongoing relationship with, your winning basketball team, to assist with this project. Let me say to all of the young people here today that this is a selfish investment, because I call it an investment. I am very close to being able to claim a pension, and the only persons who can pay our pension is you, if you succeed. And so it's in all of our interest to give you the tools you need to succeed. I had the opportunity to speak with many of the young people here today, and I can say that I'm confident that the Bahamas is in good hands, that these young people are focused in what they would wish to do. They are quite directed in how they can get there. And so the only thing that they would need from us is the resources to do so and the opportunity. And that is what the Prime Minister has been preaching, not only to us, but across this country. We owe you young people opportunity, we owe you resources, and in what we do, we aim to deliver that. So this is just an instance where I am extending that to you, the opportunity. You already, all of you already passed, but the one thing that everyone should know is you should always seek to do better. And so this investment, because I call it an investment, isn't to get you to be good. It's to assist you in being better and the best that you can be. Because ultimately when that happens, when we have our civilian mariner who is in it to make sure that he reaps, when we have the lawyer who is coming up to replace me as I get old and move out of the practice, as we have the doctors who are here, the marine biologists who are, all of you who have your craft, and I hope some of you choose to potentially become navigation officers on the patrol craft that we've invested for the Defense Force. That as you make yourself better and the best that you can be, it is you who are going to drive this country forward. And so that is why my priority is always in investing in young people and giving you opportunities. And then I will be able to retire comfortably, knowing that my country is in good, our country is in good hands, and my pension will be funded by all of the good work that you will do. Because some of you from our conversations are well into things that are well beyond me even, and that I have aged out of. And so you even have a grasp of what is current now, what is coming, and I'm confident that you're going to push it. So, Rattlers, this is just one thing. And for the rest of the public out there consuming this, a request has been made. They have projects, and the government cannot do everything. And so that is why persons like me, person like Corporate Bahamas, can assist schools like this. It is undeniable that the C.I. Gibson Rattlers, their coach is the winningest coach in basketball. Well, takes a bus to move people, carry them to beat people, right? So they can't walk to beat you. You need a bus to carry people to beat people, and that is their next big project that I intend to be involved in. It's a lot more cash intensive than this one. And so I'm publicly inviting corporate Bahamas. And let me say it, all of my competitors in the upcoming general election, these people come from Freetown. So I'm inviting all of y'all who say y'all want to represent Freetown to cooperate in this effort to get the C.I. Gibson Rattler a new bus to take their children, their young people, where they need to go academically and athletically. And that's my challenge to all of y'all and to corporate Bahamas. Investing in young people is actually an investment, because they will be the persons who will either work with you or consume your products.
And now it's time to take a look up north with our northern service.
Prime Minister of the Bahamas, the Honorable Philip Davis, has declared the month of March as Cultural Heritage Month. Here in Grand Bahama, hundreds of primary school children gathered here at the C.A. Smith building to launch a very special cultural initiative to help celebrate the month. It's National Cultural Heritage Month, so it seemed fitting that primary schools in Grand Bahama would be introduced to one of the oldest and perhaps one of the most identifiable aspects of Bahamian culture that has defined Bahamian people long before the country became independent. What's that cultural expression? Reek and scrape. On Friday, March 13, 2026, the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture joined forces with the Ministry of Education, Technical and Vocational Training to launch Rake and Scrape in primary schools in Grand Bahama. The launch was held during an official ceremony at the C.A. Smith building. Minister for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Ginger Moxie, was one of the speakers at the event.
I am elated to join you today as we celebrate at the center of the Bahamian heritage and culture. Our Prime Minister has proclaimed the month of March as National Rake and Scrape Cultural Heritage Month, a national celebration of the indigenous sound of the Bahamas. This beautiful music was born of the resilience and creativity of enslaved Africans who refused to let their spirits be broken or their joy stripped away. For our ancestors, this rhythmic expression was a tribute to their heritage, a way to communicate and tell their stories. Rake and Scrape, the sound we enjoy at festivals and regattas, was passed down through generations of a mark of the human identity. I commend Minister Glennis Hannah Martin and the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training for launching Rake and Scrape Cultural Heritage Month in schools with the theme Rake and Scrape, the sound of our identity, preserving heritage, strengthening nationhood, inspiring goals. I really want to pay my respect and give really a rousing round of applause to the educators who have ensured that Rake and Scrape remains a vital part of our educational system. I think they fought to make sure that this day happens. And I want to congratulate the students that are here as well, because again, they are going to be the ones who are going to ensure that our culture thrives from generations to generations to come. When we control the narrative about our history, it inspires patriotism, unity, and connection among our children. In closing, I'd like to acknowledge the pioneers of our great and straight music, who hailed from Cat Island, New Providence, Grand Bahama, and islands throughout the Bahamas. The music of these talented artists dominated radio airwaves as they performed at local venues and on stages around the world. Thank you for paving the way for future generations to keep our culture alive. Once again, congratulations, Ministry of Education, for your dedication to preserving and promoting the human culture through this initiative. When GOLEG reached out to me to support, we couldn't say no, because we believe so much in break and straight, jump and move, and everything that helps our culture to thrive. And I am excited that I'm going to be hearing from Michael Pateman, who has studied all of this. He's a curator, archaeologist, and works with the Maritime Museum. And I'm sure he's involved in the Grand Bahama Museum that will be opening soon in downtown Freeport. So again, thank you for your commitment, and I wish you a successful Break and Straight Cultural Heritage Month.
For Your Government in Action, I'm Andrew Coakley.
More of Your Government in Action when we return. Welcome back. Government officials and partners gathered at the National Training Agency to pay tribute to its founder and chair, Agatha Marcel, by renaming its headquarters building in her honor during a ceremony coinciding with her retirement. The ceremony took place at the headquarters on March 20th, 2026.
I think about this as I was preparing and thinking about the moment. The 8th chapter of Romans came to mind for me as I was preparing, and it says, "We know that all things work together for good, that for them that love God and who are called according to his purpose." That encapsulated my moment today for Miss Marcel, because it reminded me that we aren't placed here by chance, but by purpose and by design. And that even when the path is unclear, it's always being shaped for good if we live a purpose-led life. There's no doubt, as I listen to all of the tributes today, that the life of Agatha K. Marcel is one of those purpose-driven lives. And I had the privilege of speaking to Ms. Marcel just a few days ago. Just wanted to hear her thoughts on what was coming. And what stayed with me from our conversation in particular wasn't her long list of accomplishments, as we all have heard, and as remarkable as they are, but it's her spirit and her faith in her God. She described her career not as something she had achieved, but as something, these were her words, that she was allowed to do. That she was allowed to do. She was allowed to serve. She was allowed to walk in purpose. Thanks to God, thanks to Prime Minister Christie, thanks to Minister Shane Gibson, thanks to everyone that opened the door and paved the way. And then she said something that brought me back to scripture. That is, I know it's only God. That's what you said. You said, I know it's only God. And that is a testimony of a woman who understands that greatness is not self-made. Greatness is the result of God placing the right person in the right place at the right time to do the right thing. That's how it works. So from those humble beginnings in Cat Island, Miss Marcel has never forgotten where she came from. And for over 40 years, she has dedicated her life to ensuring that others never forget what they are capable of becoming. She walked into rooms with conviction. And she walked in with that conviction that Bahamian workers were not deficient, they were simply underprepared. And I believe that as well. And so she made it her mission to prepare the Bahamian workforce. She believed that the gap was never in our people, but in the investments we need to make in them. And that belief became her life's work here at the National Training Agency. Her contributions are many, so many that any of them could define a remarkable career. But it all ultimately led to the creation of this institute, the National Training Agency. And I want to be clear, Ms. Marcel did not just support the idea, if you listened, of the NTA. She helped to draft the legislation, in case you didn't know that. She shaped the mandate. She served as its founding executive director and executive chairman. And we should give her a round of applause. Ms. Marcel's vision is embedded in the very DNA of this institution. I think it will always be synonymous with Agatha Marcel, not only because of the name on the edifice, but because of the purpose that she has poured into it. Many years ago, when I was meant to work alongside Ms. Marcel, and you know, God has a way of doing things. We think it's for this purpose, but sometimes he shows us that it's for another. It was just for us to always be lifelong connected. We're connected throughout the course of the rest of our lives. But during the early development of the NTA, even though my life took me in another direction, I stayed connected. I watched as her mission and her vision unfold, and I respected that vision and mission highly. And that's why today it is an absolute privilege for me to support the next phase of that vision through that contribution to the NTA Foundation, because I believe that we should always pay it forward.
The Caribbean Development Bank will host its 56th annual meeting here in the Bahamas in June of this year. The meeting will bring together regional leaders and development partners to discuss economic priorities. The details of the meeting took place during a press conference and logo reveal held at Bahamar Convention Center on March 19, 2026.
On behalf of the government and the people of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, spread across our beautiful archipelago of 700 islands and many more keys, I extend a warm and heartfelt welcome to President Daniel Best, the dedicated team from the Caribbean Development Bank, to my fellow governors, and to our valued partners and colleagues who have joined us today. Today's gathering marks more than the start of preparations for an important meeting. It represents the beginning of a renewed conversation about the future of the Caribbean, about our shared aspirations, our common challenges, and the partnerships that will shape the path forward for our region. And there is no better place to begin that conversation than right here in the tranquil islands of the Bahamas, where leaders and partners can reflect, collaborate, and think boldly about the future of our region. Across the Caribbean, our nations are navigating a world that is evolving at an unprecedented pace. Economic uncertainty, climate change and disaster shocks, technological transformation, and shifting global dynamics are reshaping the environment in which our economies must operate. Recent geopolitical tensions, including the conflict in the Middle East, have further highlighted the fleeting nature of global stability. The resulting volatility in international energy markets, particularly the sharp fluctuations in oil and gas prices, reminds us how quickly external shocks can reverberate across our region, placing additional pressure on our economies and on the cost of living for our people. For small island developing states, these challenges are especially acute. Our economies are vulnerable and highly interconnected. Our populations are relatively small, and our exposure to external shocks, whether economic, environmental, or geopolitical, is significant. Yet, the Caribbean resists being defined by its vulnerabilities. Rather, our region has long been defined by its resilience, creativity, and determination. Time and again, we have demonstrated that even small nations can think boldly, act decisively, and shape their own destiny. It is precisely this spirit, this innovation, this determination to confront challenges while building a stronger and more resilient future that the 56th annual meeting of the Caribbean Development Bank seeks to capture. It was nearly 1 year ago that the Bahamas assumed the chairmanship of the Caribbean Development Bank's Board of Governors during the closing ceremony of the bank's 55th annual meeting held in Brasilia, Brazil. At that time, we accepted the responsibility not only to guide the work of the board, but also to strengthen the partnership between the bank and its member countries, a responsibility that the Bahamas embraced with great pride. The Caribbean Development Bank has long been a valued partner in developing priorities of the Bahamas. For more than 5 decades, the bank has supported initiatives that have strengthened infrastructure, improved education, expanded essential public services, and enhanced institutional capacity across our islands. The bank has also stood with the Bahamas during some of our most challenging moments, supporting recovery and rebuilding efforts following natural disasters and economic shocks. This enduring partnership reflects a shared understanding that through cooperation and regional solidarity, the Caribbean can continue to build a more resilient and prosperous future together. And so, as we continue our tenure as chair of the Board of Governors, the Bahamas remains committed to working closely with the Caribbean Development Bank to advance the strategic priorities that will guide the bank's work over the next decade, priorities that are especially important for small island developing states.
I'm Carissa Williamson, and this has been Your Government in Action, a proud presentation of Bahamas Information Services. Join us on Wednesday evenings where we bring you highlights, coverage, and information as we continue to do what we do best, linking people and government.